If you're a fan of film emulation or just looking to take your grading to the next level, today's review is for you. We're diving into a product that promises to deliver some seriously stunning film looks, Filmverse from Colorist Foundry. Colorist Foundry was kind enough to send me the Filmverse dctl full version and the light version. However, I'm not being paid to say what I have to say about this product, and there's no exchange of money whatsoever. They just sent me the product for review for my YouTube channel, and my opinions on the product are my honest thoughts, and there's no say or input from them whatsoever, and they don't even see this video until it's out. Filmverse is a dctl that emulates the legendary Kodak film stock, Kodak Vision 3 500T, and Kodak 2383 print stock, labeled as 2338 in the dctl. The dctl is designed to give you that classic film look in a way that's both authentic and customizable. Let's break it down a little bit. So Filmverse essentially brings you that Kodak 500T, which is known for its beautiful grain structure, rich tones, and vibrant colors. And then there's the Kodak 2383, a print film that gives your footage that smooth color balance, perfect for that big screen feel. So from someone who used Filmbox in the past, Dehancer, Film Vision, Film Unlimited, all sorts of stuff, what makes Filmverse stand out compared to the rest of those? So let's get into that. First up, let's talk about 16mm grain. The grain within the textured dctl, it's soft, it's natural, and it definitely adds texture to your footage. I like how it's not overwhelming, it's just the right amount to give your shot that organic 16mm feel. If we take a look at actual 16mm film, we see a bit of saturation in the grain, and the image has an overall soft tone to it, and the grain is very pronounced. So if we take a jump into our Filmverse texture dctl, we turn it on. I already have it set to the 16mm here. We have two options. We're gonna go over the 16mm first. So as you can see, we turn it on and off, and we go back to this. You can see that grain aligns very nicely. To me, it stands out as 16mm grain. However, we could go over the grain intensity, increase that grain radius, so how pronounced and sharp that grain is or how soft it is. We can also affect the grain in the green, reds, and blues. And like I said, that grain saturation. So if we come down here and look at something more neutral in color, we can add a little saturation in. Let me zoom in more. You can see that punching in there, or we could take that saturation out. But I feel leaving it as is at 0.500, it's sitting a little more natural. But if we want to go more towards a one-to-one look, I feel like we could crank that up a little bit. However, on digital footage, I feel at 0.500, it looks just perfect. So another thing I'll go over while we're in the 16mm is softness on the image. You can see we can enable softness on and off, and I think it looks fantastic set to the preset amount. However, you can add too much, in my opinion, or you can take it out and have just a tiny bit. You don't really see much effect at all. However, I feel at the 0.250 is the sweet spot for this. So in the texture dctl, you have two options, 16mm and 35mm. The 35mm is the same as the 16mm, just not as pronounced, which I find to be very accurate. So if we take a look at the 35mm, turn it on, you can see the texture and what it does to the image, giving you very nice results. And if we look at actual 35mm film, a little less saturation in the overall grain, which the saturation stays the same. However, I feel like it's not as pronounced in the 35. If we take a look at an actual film shot here again, we have something called halation in the lights. And we can also get that on Filmverse, on, off, on, off. This is set to the normal size, straight out of the box. We could turn it down, and straight out of the box, I mean, I just drag and drop this on. Turn the halation down. You could also change the color. I'd recommend leaving the color as is because it's accurate to film. If we come over to this shot, we could see it turned up a bit. And the more you turn it up, the more it affects highlight color in less bright areas. So if we go all the way up, you can see it's really pronounced. I wouldn't recommend going that high, but it's great that you have the option if you want to go for a more stylized, creative look. Next is the Kodak 500T emulation. So we have an actual film shot here. We can see how rich these colors are and how punchy they are on an interior shot. Then we have something like an exterior. Those colors on actual 500T just pop like crazy. So if we go over something that's pre-graded here, we turn it on and off, you can see those colors just come into play very nicely. We have these blues here. Take a look at this previous shot here, come over to here. You can really see those blues coming into effect. And I think the Kodak 500T emulation is done very, very well. And I can find myself using this in a bunch of future projects. So when it comes to the 2338, aka 2383 print film, this one's all about smooth colors and a classic color balance. It gives you that movie theater print look, in my opinion. Great for any project that aims to have more tasteful colors. So if we look at some stuff shot on 2383, not shot on, but printed on the 2383, it's all about deep, rich, saturated colors, warm yellows, teal blues, mint greens, and warm and cool tones all mixed into one. So here's a shot with Filmverse and another one. These are just slightly adjusted, just to give you guys an example, before and after. All these have the texture dctl added. This one really shines. Look at those greens, those mint greens and teal blues. And also another thing I want to point out, look at the red and the shed in the background there. It's just the deep, dark, saturated red. Everything is in the realm of film with just one simple click. Sometimes it needs adjustment if you're looking to push a specific look. Those blues just push towards teal. Everything is just immaculate. Let's go in here. We're working inside, let's find our hero frame. Working inside DaVinci Y Gamma Intermediate and coming out to Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. I just want to show you guys Filmverse, drag and drop. I just need to click on it and that's it. That's what it looks like. Gives you that right away. And to me, that could be a finished project. Maybe add a little bit of saturation, film sat, bring that up a little bit, and we're already in that realm of film. If we turn them all on and all off, it just gives you a super pleasing look. So on this next shot here with my dog running across the field, I want to talk about some features built in. We could add contrast with the S-curve intensity. We can come down here, we have saturation, and then we have film sat. So film sat, if I push it to the right, to me, how I interpret this is pushing it to the right is more of a 2383 and pulling it to the left gives you more of a Fuji film, print film. It brings those yellows and greens pushing a little warmer. And now if I bring it to the left, it brings those yellows and greens a little cooler. So I personally, if I'm gonna move it, I'm more so moving it to the right here. Then we have red density. If you look at the brick in the background there, making it more dense. Green density, down, up. And then we have blue density. Now the reason we don't have yellow density is the yellow density doesn't change in film. It always stays that warm yellowish tone. And so when you're emulating film, you don't want to push and pull that yellow away from the natural film look. So I'm assuming that's why they don't put it in here. And then this overall blend, it's in the beta, so still in the works. So if we take a look at everything in here, it's quite intuitive. We have our middle gray input set to 0.344, which is DaVinci Y Gamma Intermediate middle gray. We can rotate our skin hue, push it and pull it different directions. How bright or dark the skin tones are, skin chroma. So for me, I just take this as skin saturation. Again, the S-curve. Highlights, we could pull those highlights down or push them up. Usually film has some clamped highlights, but in a natural way, not like running out of dynamic range. They're just usually a little softer. So we can do that in here and we could affect where we want that to start taking place. Same with the shadows. We could drop them down, pull them up, and adjust the threshold where that starts and ends. Our luminance RGB mixer, I usually just leave this as is. Split curve mix, so when I pull it to the left, it introduces a little bit of magenta into the image. Pull it to the right, we're going more teal. Retro modern mids, again, left, we're introducing some magenta. Pull it to the right, we are going more towards teal. Retro modern highs, pull it to the left, again, magenta, but if we pull it to the right here, we're getting a more warmish, greenish tone, so orangey green tone, which is very film-esque. Saturation, already went over that. Film sat, already went over that. Density, already went over that. So film stock, we have version 2 and version 1. I prefer version 2. Again, we have Cineon for our print film, Kodak, and Fujifilm. I'm a big fan of Kodak. Curve type, smooth and refined, which I prefer. And then we have absolute and accurate, which takes a little bit more adjusting to get it in a realm of film that I prefer. So I like smooth and refined. So for me, the emulations are spot on, smooth and consistent with no banding or anything like that. They just work with one click of a button. Sometimes you need some adjustments if you're going for a specific look, but if you're going for a quick grade, you just slap it on and you're good to go. To wrap things up, Filmverse by Colorist Foundry is a powerful and easy to use dctl for anyone looking to emulate that classic Kodak film look and add that to their digital footage. With realistic film grain, organic colors, and smooth integration into DaVinci Resolve, for me, it's a no-brainer and a must-have. It's so easy to use. It's relatively inexpensive compared to other dctls, plugins, and power grades out there. And for me, it's much better than a power grade because power grades consist of 10 plus, sometimes 15 plus nodes. This, you could technically do it in 4. There is also a light version. If you guys want to see another video on that, I could do that. But that's already got the CST out built into it. For a much cheaper price, you just get a lot less. You still get very good grain. You just don't have a whole lot of adjustments over the colors and the emulation of the film. So for me, Filmverse from Colorist Foundry is a double thumbs up and I'd highly recommend. Thank you for watching and I will see you on the next video.